Hey, how's everyone? There's a lot going on right now, isn't there? I don't know if some of you are noticing how much is going on in the world and in how it feels right now. October has been a month where a lot has been going on, a lot of changes, a lot of clearly seeing where you want to have change, and knowing that there's really no way through now without making changes that are going to scare us and challenge us, but also a feeling of being pulled towards them now more than ever. Like these changes are important. Who we are, how we speak, what we represent, what we stand for, what we believe in, and within that, um, I think there can be for some a challenge in because often our identity needs to feel like we're rooted and grounded. So, when others have differences of opinions or see things a different way or the world is acting differently around us, it can really, really throw us. But right at the moment, we're on this beautiful spectrum of us all being in different places and seeing things differently, and we should celebrate that. It's this massive place for growth because if everyone saw and believed things the way I do, well, I wouldn't be growing anymore, nor would you. So when we do the inner work, which helps us to feel stronger in our center, it helps us feel that, yeah, this is my core truth for now. This is my belief system for now. This is what feels right for me for now. But when we're doing all these things and we're really rooted and grounded in ourselves, it doesn't matter if someone disagrees with us. In fact, if anything, we'll want to lean in more and understand, well, how are they seeing it? What am I not seeing there? Can I learn a little more? Can I shift my beliefs and perceptions and attachments to things a little bit to move another few steps forward if there's something there for me to learn? Or maybe it helps us stay even more where we are because we see, well, actually, I don't agree with that. Or sometimes it's just in the differences of behavior. There's a lot, there's a lot going on in the world and differences of opinions and how we see things. And I have strong opinions too. And you're not always going to agree with them, and my clients aren't always going to agree with them, and that's great. Hopefully, some of what I can bring to you will help you think and mull things over, and maybe give you something more. But I certainly don't expect everyone to agree with me. However, we can make ourselves really sick and really stressed and really distracted and very much not present if we get lost in the differences, if we get annoyed or frustrated by other people's train of thought or line of thinking or beliefs. And it's important that we don't keep letting ourselves go into those spaces. Or you can if you want. To me, it's really uncomfortable. If I carry a disagreement in my mind for the whole day, I've wrecked my day. If I take on board someone's anger at things that are going on and carry it with me for the day, I've not felt very good. I will have literally eaten an ulcer into my stomach. So bringing ourselves back to peace, grounding, acceptance, curiosity, awareness, and being able to separate a little bit from it, I think is really important. And I know I bang on about it, but time out, slowing down, nature time, nurture time, exercise time, creative time, good sleep, they're all really, really important right now. And there's no benefit in being a victim or a martyr right now. It isn't working anymore. We're adults. We're mature souls on the inside, and I think it's time for us to just step up a bit with how we're caring for ourselves. So I've kind of ignored COVID for the last while because, yeah, it gets too much. And there's sometimes spirit world is kind of pushing me to know as much as I can to help people very much so at the start of all of this. I've done so much research the whole way through on every side, and no one really wants to know. So I have that information for anyone that wants support with their health. But lately, again, I've been sort of given another nudge that, it's time to step into it and do a bit more of getting up to date and what's been said and listening to people and experts and tuning in to spirit and meditating with that energy of virus. And I think we're in for some quite tricky times ahead, maybe more than before. And I think I would be recommending that, if anything, we all have to start waking up to responsibility and accountability regarding our patterns, our behaviors towards other people, being respectful of other people. We're still in a pandemic, and also really owning our health. We know now that there is a worse outcome if you are overweight, especially if you're obese, if you have blood sugar problems, and a lot of people do. You might not be full-on diabetic, but there could be an inflammatory state going on in the body as a result of blood glucose dysregulation from eating very, very highly processed and high sugar, white carb type diets. We know that you are at increase. So this increases risk of getting severe COVID and dying from COVID. So being overweight, having blood sugar problems, an inflammatory state in the body, immune problems, immune dysregulation, autoimmune type problems are going to create more challenge. And the clinical data is showing us that. Autoimmune conditions, heart disease, high blood pressure, hypertension, cancer are all increasing risk for morbidity and mortality. And the more what we would term comorbidities that are present, the greater our risk of having severe COVID and ending up in hospital. So the data on children as well experiencing worse COVID, significantly worse than a flu, how a flu would affect them, or having maybe an asymptomatic experience with COVID, but having long-term effects afterwards, where we're even seeing increased risk of stroke, post-acute COVID syndrome, fatigue. There's a whole rake of it. It is a horrible virus, very clever virus, and it's going to be with us for a while. And it's the more we're giving it a chance to spread around us all, the more it's going to have an opportunity to mutate. And it's doing it all the time. And whether it's successful or not at being a variant of concern, which is basically when we all start going, oh God, here comes another round of something, like Delta was a variant of concern. But even so, fortunately and unfortunately, we were amazing at developing vaccines. Amazing. Decades of research came together on other lines of developing vaccines for other things and progressing how vaccines are made. We created some amazing vaccines for SARS-CoV-2. However, they haven't been quite as effective as we had hoped. Spirit World speaks to all of us. Maybe I just listen. But I was kind of told that, vaccines, they aren't really going to work that well. So we're kind of, I was very surprised to hear Tony Holohan on the radio last night not admitting, but he was really admitting that vaccines aren't working as well as we thought they would. I'm kind of shocked, firstly, because no one in our government here seems to want to be accountable to the mistakes that have been made along the way. And the only way we can do better is by being accountable for the mistakes we've made along the way and changing things. Funnily enough, I was just on a webinar with MP Jeremy Hunt in Britain, and the whole webinar was centered around the research that they're doing over there into what did they do wrong during the pandemic so that they can plan forwards. Like, amazing. Owning it. owning it and progressing forwards. None of that here in Ireland. But anyway, that's not my thing to judge or criticize. So I was quite surprised to hear that on the radio, but we kind of know that. So what does it mean? It means we were kind of given a bit of a false promise, and it meant that we've all sort of let our guard down a little bit in doing all the other things that are going to be really helpful, which is firstly, getting fit, healthy, eating well, sleeping better, resting more, looking at the shit of everything that's in your life and what you really want in there, and making the changes about what matters and what's important, and pushing aside what isn't. We have made our 24 hours impossible to thrive in. And there's big changes that need to be made so that we can thrive in those 24 hours better. So that's the first step, personal responsibility. Not everyone's going to do it. Does that mean you don't? Also, I don't know why it crossed my mind this morning, but I sort of had this feeling that the anti-vaxxers are going to be absolutely elated today because we're admitting that the vaccines aren't working as well as we had hoped they would. That makes me really sad. And why that makes me really sad is because who would wish that we have less tools in our toolkit for helping ourselves? Who would wish that there's less choices there for those that want to make those choices? The more options we have for how we support our health and how we help people and how we help vulnerable people and elderly people and immune compromised people, the vaccines have worked. They've had you can't even compare the risk of a side effect compared to the risk of what COVID does for most people, and the data is there. Is it challenging us to take a vaccine when it's new and for the first time ever we're actually the true guinea pigs? Yeah, of course it is, but we're in unprecedented times. So I would be really mindful of where your energy goes if you start thinking, oh, whoopie-doo, this is a win for anti-vax. No. It's harder for the whole world now to figure out what we're going to do. And there's going to be even more responsibility on us as individuals. The ones that want to and can keep being responsible, owning our health and the blah, blah, blahs. Now, there is a really good resource. I'm going to flip my phone over. So on my computer here, I'm on the Institute for Functional Medicine. They have a vaccine dashboard or COVID dashboard. So I'm on the practitioner side here. They have resources free, might I add, for patients. So this is the functional medicine approach to COVID-19 virus-specific nutraceutical and botanical agents. And they talk you down, sorry, this isn't going to be very good quality, but they talk you through, diet, lifestyle, optimal weight, blood sugar balance. The biggest thing we have in control is staying as healthy as possible. They talk about the nutraceuticals, in other words, vitamins and minerals and special types of supplements that can be helpful. And they talk about the research and the dose and the when, the whys. So we have things like zinc, we have things like elderberry, amazing. It's been in our hedgerows. Vitamin D, very, very important to get your vitamin D level checked in a blood test and then optimize yourself midway over halfway. You want to be around 50 to 80 in the way we test here in Ireland. Vitamin A, very, very deficient in vegan and vegetarian diets, might I add. So get some cod liver oil in if you can, liver foods. Vitamin C. There's been less positive research on vitamin C being helpful when we actually have COVID, but to have our tissue saturated with a good fruit and vegetable intake is definitely protective. N-acetylcysteine, quercetin, and don't forget a lot of foods contain these things. EGCG, which is in green tea, curcumin, you can wallop that in your food as well. Now melatonin, can't get that here in Ireland. But if you are getting really sick and coming down with COVID, it might be worth speaking to your GP about it. Resveratrol. What I find hilarious is that resveratrol is everywhere in our ditches. It's Japanese knotweed. Mother Nature has the answers right in front of us. So lots of things here for prevention and for treatment of mild or asymptomatic COVID. If you have bad symptoms, medicine is the way to go. You want to be going to the doctor, you want to be going to the experts, you want to be doing what you can and adding it to what they can. I don't believe it's a one or the other. I myself, well, maybe it's my training, I'm on both sides of the fence. I understand the alternative complementary world, I understand the medical pharmaceutical world because that's where I'm educated, so I'm for both. I'm for both together, and sometimes we need help. I mean, when you need your appendix out, you don't start going, oh, where's my vitamin C? You go to the doctor and you have surgery. If you need an antibiotic because an infection is going to kill you, that's what we do. However, antibiotics, on that note, are highly overused, and there's a lot of things in the natural world that we can do to limit their use and then reduce our chances of severe antimicrobial resistance, which is the other pandemic we're going to face soon. So it's a case of not either or, but both and when. Oh, lovely. It's raining again. Got my run in this morning, so I'm happy. Homeopathy. I personally believe in it. I have a whole first aid kit for if I get sick, and I've been dipping in and out of it since March 2020 and haven't been sick. Might get warning signs and symptoms, and then I'll do something about it. I will reduce training, I will increase rest, I will up my food, I will take my herbs, and I will use my homeopathy, and that's helped me. And look, not everyone has the education or the access, but if you can, I think it's good to educate yourself in having that at home for yourself. Again, it's all about us doing as much as we can to reduce our burden on other things, and also to reduce our burden of spreading sickness to other people. I think one thing that a lot of disbelievers, don't know what the word is, kind of throw about there is that, well, if we're doing something like I just said, living my life nice and simply, not overly socializing, taking care of my health, helping my health if I'm getting sick. Some people are like, oh, you've shut yourself off at home, you're going to have a crap immune system because you're not getting exposed to things. We're all getting exposed all of the time. Even trees, plants, everything. We're getting exposed all of the time. That's why our plants are so amazing at healing our health. They're getting exposed to the same things that we are, and then they've built defense systems. And then when we consume that plant or herb, we are benefiting from the hard work that they've done by responding to their environments. So maybe there's a lesson in that. We need to learn to respond to our environments a little bit better also, and for the benefit of everybody else, which is what the plants are doing. So yeah, I've been rabbiting on there way too long to make this into an Instagram video because I've gone over my 10 minutes. So just mind yourselves, go with the flow, sit with nature, watch her. The river doesn't try to go backwards. The trees just allow the wind. The birds learn how to fly on the crazy, crazy wind currents that are going on. Everything is flowing with, it's not working against, and that's sort of how I think we'd all benefit from living. I'm here if you need me. I'm here if you'd like to chat to me. I'm here if you have any questions. Lots of love.